Okay. It is what it is. Full-time whistle. Plymouth 1-0. Rough. Rough, rough, rough. One of my dog. Rough, rough. I'm just kidding. Rough game. Not in terms of quality of play, because I feel like they did enough to at least make it a 1-0 or a 1-1er, rather. Okay. So my analysis of this game. I'm going to make it short and sweet. I don't feel like they played poorly. I don't feel like they deserve to lose that one. I feel like their quality of play when they were on the ball, notably in the first half, was enough to at least get them a goal. But they didn't create too many clear-cut chances. I think that's where they really lacked. And I think one player you can point at in terms of... I don't want to point fingers, of course, but I want to make sure I analyze some of these players' individual performances. Luke McCormick kind of disappointed me today, actually. There were a couple of instances, one in the 5th minute or 6th minute or so, where Henry Lawrence, who, by the way, I feel like was the man of the match, aside from Assal and Lawrence were the two players of the game. I'll get into that in a second. But Lawrence was... I think he was played on the overlap by somebody, by Chislett, I think, played him on the overlap. And then he played a ball square down the 6. And McCormick, I will demonstrate, McCormick tried to take a touch, but the ball went under his foot and past him. I think if he were to have taken a touch, he had a couple of yards of space to hit it at goal. And that was a missed opportunity there for McCormick. There was an instance in the second half where he had a little bit of space. It was a square ball from Woodyard, and then he took a touch and then took another heavy touch. It was intended to put himself in a good area to try to take it to take a shot after the second touch rather. The third touch would have been a shot far post, but took a very heavy touch, kind of lost control of the ball there and got his pocket picked by Cooper, who, by the way, didn't have any major saves today. There weren't too many shots on target that AFC Wimbledon took where it forced Cooper to make a save. But I think Cooper was fantastic today for Plymouth Argyle. Got to give props to Cooper. Great goalkeeping. A couple of times he got picked off a couple of crosses. There was one instance, a good opportunity actually from Hardigan. There weren't too many set pieces today for AFC Wimbledon to capitalize on, but there was one free kick, back post. Nightingale headed it hard into the ground and it bounced up right before Cooper. As a former goalkeeper myself, I can say those are very difficult to deal with sometimes. And Ipswich's goalkeeper, I forget his name, but he bobbled it. Same instance, except that was a knockdown from Hennigan. This was a legitimate header towards goal, where Cooper kind of palmed it down to the ground and kept control of the ball. So good handling there from Cooper. Another decent save from Cooper came in the second half where Ayub Assal made a great run. Good ball from Woodyard, straight ahead, and Assal dropped the shoulder, let the ball run past him. First touch, tried to take it around the keeper. Maybe a little too light of a touch, but sometimes if the keeper was expecting a shot and he probably went down to his legs and tried to make himself big, then Assal would have taken a touch around him, but Cooper stayed firm, waited for the touch around, and dove into it, got a little deflection, and the chance petered out after Assal played a ball into the box, or tried to actually play a ball into the box, but it went over the frame of the goal. But Woodyard was fantastic today. It was a lot better than the last game where he was kind of caught ball watching at times. Defensively, he was solid. On the ball, a couple of really crisp passes, one to Assal on that opportunity that I mentioned. A couple of nice square balls to Hardigan. A couple of switches of the play to the likes of Assal or Henry Lawrence, who'd come up the field. Henry Lawrence was pretty good. He found himself on the attacking end a lot today, knocking around some 1-2s, knocking over some overlaps to the likes of Assal and Chislett, who Chislett, by the way, was another decent player, very active off the ball. Second half kind of petered out a little bit in terms of activity, and then he eventually got subbed by Mabude had a spotty game, inconsistent, but a couple of times he did draw the foul, and he did play a couple of good passes and a couple of decent touches to try to set himself up. Did draw the foul around the top of the 18. The shot was driven towards... it was a Hardigan when he tried to blast it and it went off of the wall for a corner. But I think the four players that were notable today: Woodyard, Chislett, um, Woodyard, Chislett, Assal, and Henry Lawrence. I think there were all four of them were quality on the ball on the offensive front, and they were good in terms of chance creation, but we couldn't find that final chance. And I think a reason for that is Aaron Pressley starting as a lone striker, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'd rather have Pressley play alongside Ollie Palmer or Dapo Mabude in a 4-4-2, 4-3-1-2. I just don't think Pressley is dangerous enough. I don't think he has that capability of creating his own chance. While he's good on the hold-up and he's good in terms of winning headers every now and again, he's pressing the ball, off the ball pressure. I just don't think he's good enough to create his own chance. And there were a couple of instances we played it long to Pressley where he would try to win the knockdown, but when it was chest tighter, when it was played to his feet, he just wasn't able to find Chislett or Assal at times. He did play it off to them a couple times, but in those moments where he didn't have any support, he just doesn't have that ability to take someone on 1v1. Ollie Palmer, of course, isn't a 1v1 type of individual either, but Palmer, sometimes when he's on the ball, he takes a touch and maybe drives it towards goal, or maybe we'll take he's a little bit more athletic than Pressley. He's not quick, but his quality on the ball is a little bit better than Pressley. I think Pressley is a little bit more not careless, but he's not as much of a quality player on the ball as someone like Ollie Palmer. I'd rather have Pressley playing alongside somebody else in a 4-4-2. Aaron Pressley starting as a lone striker, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'd rather have Pressley play alongside Ollie Palmer or Dapo Mabude in a 4-4-2, 4-3-1-2. I just don't think Pressley is dangerous enough. I don't think he has that capability of creating his own chance. While he's good on the hold-up and he's good in terms of winning headers every now and again, he's pressing the ball, off the ball pressure. I just don't think he's good enough to create his own chance. And there were a couple of instances we played it long to Pressley where he would try to win the knockdown, but when it was chest tighter, when it was played to his feet, he just wasn't able to find Chislett or Assal at times. He did play it off to them a couple times, but in those moments where he didn't have any support, he just doesn't have that ability to take someone on 1v1. Ollie Palmer, of course, isn't a 1v1 type of individual either, but Palmer, sometimes when he's on the ball, he takes a touch and maybe drives it towards goal, or maybe we'll take he's a little bit more athletic than Pressley. He's not quick, but his quality on the ball is a little bit better than Pressley. I think Pressley is a little bit more not careless, but he's not as much of a quality player on the ball as someone like Ollie Palmer. I'd rather have Pressley playing alongside somebody else in a 4-4-2. Pressley was fairly quiet today. Didn't really see the ball too much. Didn't really have any opportunities to score. He did have one instance in which that same play where Assal tried to take it around Cooper and Cooper deflected it. It went off of Cooper, and then Pressley found himself putting a decent square ball, try to thread it through with some pace. But it was a good defending, I think, by Scar to get it partially cleared away, not fully cleared to Assal, who tried to put it back in, but over the frame. Pressley wasn't dangerous enough. I think McCormick was fairly disappointing all around. Che Alexander was okay defensively, but didn't really have that attacking threat. Put a couple of balls into the box that were mainly head height towards the near post, nothing too threatening. Hennigan and Nightingale were decent on the defensive end, but it was just less of Wimbledon playing poorly because they didn't really play poorly, and it was more of the fact that they didn't create too many clear chances. I think their quality on the ball is fantastic. They played a couple of good balls into Assal, to Chislett on the overlap, but whenever that final pass was played into like McCormick or Chislett or whatever, they just couldn't find that final opportunity to shoot. McCormick a couple of times letting the ball get away from him, and Pressley not able to create his own chance. So that's all I have to say about that one. Rotherham in 6th, Bolton in 8th, Cheltenham in 9th, Burton 10th, Accrington 11th, all with 8 matches played to their name. Sheffield United and Cambridge could perhaps leapfrog AFC Wimbledon if they get a couple of wins in their respective matches. Maybe Portsmouth getting a win, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know most of you have already left the stream by now.